So we're talking chapter 6 of Perry Mason, where we see Perry's first day as a lawyer and the ups and downs that comes with that. Della and Pete find some great information, and we got some great news about a season 2 of Perry Mason. We're talking about that and much more. A damning witness testimony begins Emily's trial. Della and Strickland investigate a potential connection between Detective Ennis and Charlie's kidnappers. Mason considers betraying Drake's trust. Hey, what's going on, everybody, and welcome back to Movie Files. Elliot here with a brand new review, recap, breakdown of Chapter 6 of Perry Mason. Very excited to talk about this episode and talk about the great news that we got for a Season 2. We're breaking it all down in this spoiler discussion, but as you can see on the screen now, make sure you're following me on all my other social media accounts. If you're new to the channel, subscribe, hit that bell so you don't miss any of that new content. Give this video a thumbs up, helps out the channel, but also really appreciate it. And last but not least, if and when you've seen this latest chapter of Perry Mason, let me know what you all thought about this episode. What did you think about Perry as a lawyer, the discovery of Pete and Della, all the stuff they did in this episode, that Jim Hicks character at the end, and let me know your excitement level for Season 2's announcement of Perry Mason. Let me know your thoughts in the comments below, and as always, let's have some great discussion in the comment section. So, solid episode. This was the episode that a lot of us was, waiting for to see how Perry Mason was going to turn out to be a lawyer, and we'll talk about that. But, we get the Jim Hicks information, the connection with Baggerly and the, his new church and everything around that. Sister Alice is still on her high horse about rising Perry's or Charlie from the dead. So we got a lot of good stuff to break down in this episode. But let's kind of start off with our recap. So the show immediately opens in the courtroom, which the majority of this particular episode took place in the courtroom. And it was some really tense, intriguing moments, and then some overacting at points, and we'll get to that a little bit later. But nevertheless, we open up the episode with Barnes pleading his case about Emily being guilty. It was lust, it was money, that was the motivational factors of her killing her son. And we see Perry in the courtroom, guys, and he's pretty cleaned up. He got his hair cut, got the the shave going on. So I'm like, okay. I don't know if he can, say the words and carry himself as a lawyer, but at least he looks the part, right? But we'll get into that here. So we see Perry opening up his statements, and definitely not a good look, because Perry seems to be nervous. He's coughing, needs some water. It just wasn't a good look for our boy Perry in his first opening trial there. So as we kind of move forward, we see Della and Perry and Pete kind of regrouping from the first day of trial. And like I said, things weren't starting off that hot, but they kind of regroup. And this is what I love about this particular episode is the teamwork and the team coming together, right? And Perry doing his thing and Della and Pete. It was just a really kind of, you saw like the building blocks of this great team that's coming together. And maybe Drake joining the team later down the road. But I just love the teamwork aspect of this episode, and just kind of like, I don't want to say Scooby-Doo, but just kind of the elements of them figuring things out together and coming together as a group. But I really like that element of this episode, and we'll talk about that a little bit further down the line. But we get to see, Matthew takes the stand. They mentioned that a couple episodes ago, but we finally see him on the stand. He reads the love letters that we see between George and Emily, and things get heated as it's been doing between those two. I mean, I don't know why they marry each other, because they always seem to be arguing. But we get that moment between them. Perry uses Matt's lies against him. Brings up that his father was Baggerly. He knew about this 5 years ago. He didn't tell his new wife when they were moving. He was where his whereabouts was when his son was kidnapped. So it's making, Matt look like a liar. And that was a really good move by Perry. Again, he stumbled. He kind of came out the block stumbling, but he's starting to get confidence. And you see that throughout the episode. He's starting to get more confident in his lawyer skills, in the way he phrases things. He gets a little hot-headed at times and kind of breaks the rules, but like I said, the thing that you notice in this episode is Perry getting that confidence, getting better and better as a lawyer. So I thought that was a really slick move by Perry to show the lying tendencies of Matthew. But Matthew says to the court that maybe the son isn't his. So that's something that we can look into in the further episodes. Is Charlie really, the son of Matthew? Is it George's child, maybe? And we'll talk about that scene here with, what we got with George and, the mother of Charlie, Emily here. But Very interesting thing to keep an eye out for. But, we see, this is the thing that I love too. We see Pete finding the connection between George and the church, and we see Pete going out to, Denver and finding out all the information. Again, Della and Pete were like my highlights, and also Perry, but also those two really kind of stood out to me because it was just showing you the legwork that they're putting in to prove Emily's innocence, but also the teamwork that they're willing to do what it takes to find, to help Perry out, and like I said, help Emily become an innocent woman. But I love everything that we got with those two. But we see Drake is now on trial as a witness. Ennis is brought up through this time. We see Ennis looking at Drake while he's on the stand, and we see Barnes look at him because they're obviously a little bit nervous of what he found. But Perry, he has the evidence right then and there, but he kept his promise. And that's another stand-up move by Perry. It kind of shows you the moral compass of this character that we've gotten throughout this season. We see that he's willing to do what it takes. He'll grab some dentures and put it in the mouth of a dead man. He'll take a body from a morgue. So he's willing to, he has some gray area, which is what I love about the complexity of Perry Mason. But he also is a man and stands by his word. And I like that moment between him and Drake that we'll get to in a little bit. But, that was a really important moment. But we see Perry and Della work really good together where they go to the church, and Della kind of takes the book, and again it was just the teamwork. That's the word of this episode to me, was just teamwork. So we see Drake getting money from his lieutenant for his loyalty and everything that he did at the court, which that really opened the eyes of Drake, seeing that the police are hiding things and it doesn't sit well with him. And that's another character that has a moral compass that I really like about what Drake has to offer. So we see Sister Alice and her mother encouraging them to go on the run. But we see, Alice gets slapped by her mom, and she's sticking to her guns. So she's going to bring Charlie to life come Easter Sunday, which I'm thinking that's going to probably be next episode. But we see, the mother is not feeling too confident about her daughter's abilities, about bringing this child to life. And she just knows she's looking out for her daughter, because we'll see what happens with this whole Charlie being resurrected. But, we get that moment there. We get into a really good scene, in my opinion, probably the best scene in regards to the acting and just the context of this scene. But we see, Mason and Drake having a conversation. They're discussing how Mason kept his word, and Drake tells Mason about his position as a black police officer, about how he can't handcuff white guys or white people that are breaking the law. And I just love the scene and just the conversation being had, and the acting was phenomenal. But it's just two guys that are put in a really, interesting position, right, where Drake is as a police officer, the stuff that he knows, and then how Perry has certain information, but he's a man of his word. So I love our two characters kind of coming together. And again, I hope Drake joins the team, because they got some great teamwork going on, especially in this episode, like I said numerous times. But like I said, one of my favorite, probably my favorite scene in the episode. But as we kind of move forward, we see Drake just says, I'm going to help you. I'm going to help this lady out. I should have helped her to begin with, but now I'm willing to, kind of put my family at risk to prove her innocence. So we'll get to that, what Drake does with his wife. But, what I really enjoyed about this episode, again, was just the team camaraderie and, Della finding out the information about Baggerly. We see Pete getting the information in Denver, and we see, Drake obviously stepping up. So, again, it was just a really well done episode, and the supporting cast really carrying this episode, in my opinion. But, Mason did his things, but it was really the supporting cast that stood out to me. But Mason drops the bomb with the evidence about George's dentures, and really shaking up the trial. We see the judge takes him to the back, him and Barnes. The judge ultimately decides to dismiss that information because it wasn't, good information as far as how he got the information. So they dismissed that. Obviously, Perry was upset about that. We see Drake sending his wife off to her aunt's house for safety, which was a really smart move. We'll see if somehow they can find her, but I hope that the wife and the baby is safe now, and they're kind of out of the harm's way, because there's only 2 episodes left. So I think that was a really smart move to send Drake, his wife, out to wherever her auntie is. I hope she's far, far away, and we can keep that baby and his wife safe, because as I had mentioned last week, I don't know if they are going to be safe, but I hope that this move keeps them safe. But super random, the scene between Pete and Betty, I believe her name was, when she says Edda's name reminds her of penis. I don't know. I'm very juvenile when it comes to jokes like that, but I thought that was just so funny. But their chemistry, that Betty woman, I hope she makes an appearance in season 2, because I hope she's like maybe a secretary or someone that works for Perry in season 2, because I thought that the chemistry between Betty and Pete was just fantastic. Just a little tangent there, but let me know if you guys thought that was funny. But as we kind of wrap up the episode, The woman from the jail lies on Emily. It says that she said that she killed her son and that she put the pillow over her head and all that stuff. But really, the big thing that we get from Emily, that I kind of forgot to mention was, the guy. I can't remember his name right now, but the guy at the hotel had saw George and Emily having lovemaking, but the baby was on the bed by itself. So that really kind of makes Emily look like a bad mom. But as another witness tries to make Emily look bad is the woman from the jail, saying that Emily said that she killed her son, and obviously that really shook up the court. Now, this was one of the scenes that I kind of referred to as overacting. I thought Emily was overacting that scene, and the judge, the order. Like, I thought that scene was important, but the acting was just a little over the top for my personal taste. But, Emily still believes that Alice will rise her son from the dead. We'll see how that plays out. But as the episode finishes, we get a really confrontational, heated exchange between Ennis and Holcomb. Ennis pretty much tells him, yeah, I'm kind of crooked, man. And Holcomb's like, you're willing to risk our partnership, your family, all this stuff. Who else knows about what you've done? And he says, I want you to kill them. So Ennis, was throwing his partner under the bus last week, but now it looks like Holcomb is kind of going to the dark side and trying to cover his tracks up. So very interesting moment there. But, we'll see what comes of that in regards to who else knows and who's Ennis is going to kill next. Because we know he's a killer. He killed those guys in episode 2 or episode 1. So as the last scenes wrap up, we see the episode ends with Perry going to Jim Hicks's door, where Jim Hicks was waiting for him with a shotgun. End of the episode again. When we'll see what kind of plays. I don't think Jim Hicks is going to kill him. We're going to find out some connection between Baggerly and the church and potentially the kidnappers. So, and that's what I'm hoping to see in these next 2 episodes. I thought this episode was really solid. We see the confidence growing for Perry as a lawyer. Della and Pete being great teammates. Drake maybe joining the team and helping to prove Emily's innocence. And we see Holcomb and Ennis teaming up to cover their track. So the big news, like I said up top, is we got the announcement that Perry Mason season 2 will be coming to HBO in probably the next coming years. I didn't think that was going to be the case because it was a mini series, but hey, the numbers are there, the engagement's there, people want a season 2, and we got it. So let me know what you all thought about that news. Are you excited for a Perry Mason 2 season 2? What would you? We got 2 more episodes in this season, but to look in the future, what would you hope to see in a season 2? But let me know again what you thought of this episode, your excitement level for the announcement, and all your pros and cons of Chapter 6. So as always, like, share, comment, subscribe, hit that notification bell so you don't miss any of that content. I have for those Netflix fans, I have my Umbrella Academy Season 2 spoiler-free review available on my channel now. I'm going to have a spoiler review coming later this week. We got, watch-alongs for Guardians of the Galaxy and a lot of content coming for you all this week. Hope you all have a fantastic week. Thank you for watching this review. Stay safe, and we'll see you soon.